Adria Vici Halub. In a podcast with Cyprian recently, it was said the concept of science was so badly damaged by communism that a whole lot of people fled to pseudoscience. Do you think this statement is applicable to the anti-vax and COVID-denying people in the USA? If so, could you please elaborate on that point? Absolutely. Thank you, Adria, for this question. It's a great one, and it's totally on point. We have a active campaign, a disinformation campaign that is anti-science, and this campaign has been going on for a very long time in the United States. I will stretch it back to the 1980s. I think it goes, obviously you can find strains of anti-intellectualism and anti-science all, through all of history, all going all the way back as far as the word science, has been used. But this campaign I'm talking about is not a single effort. It's not one person or some weird conspiracy. It is simply an effort on the part of religious groups, of political groups, other ideological groups, cults, schools. This is shown up in academia in places. That lots and lots of different movements for lots and lots of different reasons push back against science. And they do so because they don't like what science has to say. And science is a broad umbrella term, obviously. Science is everything from engineering to biology to botany to, chemistry to, it's a wide range of things, all the way through the social sciences, which includes psychology, psychiatry, etc. So, the humanities, you have anthropology, archaeology, ethnography, tons and tons of fields that fall under this umbrella of science. And really all this means is that these are fields of endeavor, fields of information and educational pursuit that are engaging in a disciplined, rigorous, step-by-step process to find or discover what is or isn't true in the world, what works, what doesn't, how do things operate. That's what science is all about. It is a process that sometimes is error-ridden. People make mistakes. People can make an infinite variety of mistakes in executing the process of science. And that's just human fallibility. And it's absolutely predictable. It's absolutely something you can count on. Mistakes will be made. Big mistakes, little mistakes. And they happen every single day. And these mistakes are used to invalidate that science, to say that science, the process itself, is basically flawed. People don't know what they're doing. Look at this conclusion people came to 5, 10, 20, 50 years ago that's obviously flawed because we've discovered new information. Look at how wrong they were. Look at how bad science got it. And of course, this is all just wrong-headed bullshit thinking, because they're taking a feature of science and twisting it and corrupting it into a bug. They're making it out that science is somehow flawed because the data changes. And the data, of course, is supposed to change. You're supposed to learn new things that invalidate old things. That's the process of discovery. That's what you expect to see. That's what you should see. So to make it out that that's somehow a flaw or broken system is to demonstrate that the people who make that claim, who say that about science, are demonstrating very loudly and very proudly that they're idiots, that they have no clue what science is actually about. And they do so because they have motivated reasoning to do so. They are motivated to reason out that science is bad almost universally because they have some belief, some faith-based idea, whether it's an academic faith-based idea or a God faith-based idea or a cult faith-based idea or some pseudoscience faith-based idea. Across all the spectrums of all of these fields, There is motivated reasoning that my pseudoscience, my faith, my idea is superior to and senior to any of your science nonsense. Don't talk to me about facts. Don't talk to me about observation. Don't talk to me about evidence. My idea is right, and nothing you say or do will convince me otherwise. And this is how anti-science happens. It's because people's egos are too strong for their common sense and for their ability to simply observe the obvious of what's right in front of their face. Science is not cryptic. Science is not hard. Science isn't really at the fundamental root of it. Science is not difficult or hard to understand. There is a lot in science that is very complicated, that is very hard to understand, but the process itself is very, very simple. We teach it to fourth graders, the scientific method. It's not difficult or hard to understand, but it's also not hard to understand why people push back against it because of their egos and because of their vested interests, because of financial gain. This is a big, big, big thing that pushes as to a reason why people push back against science is because they are financially motivated as well as the faith-based nonsense. So you've got a lot of reasons why people, feel that science is somehow threatening to them, is somehow threatening to their worldview, or is somehow threatening to their afterlife, to their picture or their idea of what's supposed to happen with them after they die. That's the faith-based stuff. So lots and lots of very easy to understand reasons why people push back against this. And when it comes to COVID and vaccines, of course, you have this small percentage of people in the United States and around the world who insist that their rights are more important than anything else, including public safety and health and things like that. They'd rather see a whole bunch of people die than they be inconvenienced in any way, or they'd rather watch a whole lot of people die than to give over to the idea that somebody else could be right and they're wrong. There are some people who simply cannot go there. They cannot be wrong. They take a position and they sink into it and they will not move. And that's cults. That's extremism, right? That's radicalized people. I mean, this is what we talk about all the time on this channel, is this class of people. And we know that there is something basically and fundamentally wrong with someone who will not budge, no matter what you say or do, on a topic like science. We're not talking here about, okay, give over your first kid and we're going to keep working you over until you give over for your first kid so we can kill him. Sacrifice first kid. That would be something you should be immovable on. That's something you should not change your mind about, right? Nobody has the right to, go kill your kid. But when it comes to getting vaccinated, right? When it comes to public safety discourse, when it comes to, the whole concept of the social contract and rights and liberties and responsibilities, man, we can clearly see at this point that there's a small percentage of people. I think it's about 14%, according to certain sources I've seen and cited in the past. About 14% of Americans, maybe worldwide, are just intractable, just not going to move, not going to budge. It's their way, and that's it. And they're just not willing to consider that anybody else has anything important enough for them to even bother listening to. And with such people, you simply have to move them out of the way. They become their own problem. And so somehow or another that has to be dealt with. And I don't suggest, by the way, that, that the government has the right to come in and forcefully vaccinate people. If you do have bodily autonomy, and no one has the right to tell you what you can or can't put in your body. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. But then don't pretend you're part of healthy society and that you have the right to just intermingle with everybody else and make them sick and potentially kill them. You don't have that right. And you never did. And that's the whole point of civil rights. So, the rights argument is actually completely twisted and corrupted around and is itself a corruption of the reality of what rights are for. So anyway, I'm getting into the rights argument rather than the science thing, but I'm just kind of going on a roll about all this because it's the arguments about all of this are just kindergarten silly, and they are coming out of kindergarten level thinking, because it's people who are so riled up about their rightness and about their truth and their integrity that they sound like a bunch of Scientologists. What's true for me is true, and that's how it is. And there isn't anything you or anybody else is going to say that's going to change my mind. You just go, okay, you go stand over there, and we're going to put, some walls around, and you are going to be perfectly happy with you, and your crowd can go live over there, sequestered safely away from the rest of us, so that we don't have to be endangered by you. Because that's kind of really how it is. And these people are so selfish and so egotistical that they just can't even conceive of anything outside of themselves. So that's kind of what's going on there with that. Now, that all being said, I want to say out loud, and I've probably already pissed a whole bunch of people off with this, but I'm going to say really, really clearly now that I'm not talking about people who have medical reasons to not get vaccinated. I'm talking about the anti-science crowd. If you acknowledge that vaccines are wonderful and great, but you can't take them because you have pre-existing conditions, immunocompromised, body, your doctors have told you don't get vaccinated, that's a whole different class of person. None of what I just said applies in any way to that class of people. So I hope we're clear on who I'm talking about here, because I'm not talking about every single person who isn't vaccinated. That's not the case. And if you're hearing that from me, then you're not listening to what I'm saying. So I want to be clear that I'm talking about the people who this question asks about. Anti-science, anti-COVID, anti-vax, they think it's all a hoax. That class of delusional people are a threat to the public health and safety of everybody else. That's what they are. But the people who are, old or have immunocompromised conditions or literally medically can't be vaccinated for legit reasons, that's pro-science. That's using the data correctly, so that you don't kill yourself by getting vaccinated, right? Because there are some people that it's a very, very, very tiny number of people, but that group of people exists, and they very much are pro-science when they are saying, "Hey, look, I'm immunocompromised, I can't do it." That's a whole different condition. Okay, so it's apples and oranges, and I'm talking very strongly and very kind of insultingly about one group of people here, but I'm not saying those same things about this other group of people. So I want to be crystal clear about that. That my denigrating, insulting words are meant for those who are actively threatening the safety and security of everybody in society. So there you go. I hope that was clear. And there you go. Thank you.